In this video, I want to talk about two of my favorite Lionel steam locomotives. The pre-war 226E, which was produced from 1938 to 1941, and the post-war, immediate post-war, number 726, which was produced, this particular model was produced, I want to talk about, in 1946 only. Okay, let's get on with this video. In this lineup, I have three locomotives that appear very, very similar, but they're not. Okay, the first locomotive here is a pre-war 226E. It was made between 38 and 41. The second locomotive is a post-war 726. It was made, this particular locomotive was made in 1946 only, although the 726 was made from 46 to 1949, but in 1947 it changed dramatically. And they have a 736, and the 736 was made starting in 1950 and carried on for a number of years and went through a lot of iterations. But in this video, I mainly want to talk about the 226E and the 726. First off, you can see that both of these locomotives have the larger die-cast tenders. The body casting are very, very similar. You notice that these sand domes in both of these locomotives are kind of small compared to the 736 and a later 726s, which had the larger sand dome. One of the neat things about the 226E was it had a firebox light, which was fairly unique to this body casting. It was kind of neat. This locomotive does not have smoke. The 726E had a smoke bulb, and the 736 had actually a little smoke, pellet smoke machine. Talk about that in a minute. Okay, I switched on a little brighter light here so you can see the wheel arrangement. You'll notice that the 226E has a 2-6-4 wheel arrangement, and the 726 has a 2-8-4 wheel arrangement. The 736, again, I really don't want to focus on that, but it also has a 2-8-4 wheel arrangement. Both the 226E and this first 726 had the Baldwin disc drivers with nickel rims. Later 726 and a 736 did not. The tender for the 226E was a 2226W tender. It was fitted with pre-war trucks, and if you can see it back here, a box coupler, a pre-war box coupler. The tender for the 726, again, these are die-cast tenders, was a 2426W. You can see it has 6-wheel trucks, but the later trucks, and it has the knuckle couplers. Other than that, these tenders are fairly similar. Another difference between the 226E and the 726 is the 226E does not have smoke, but the 726 does. And in this particular locomotive, I had the smoke bulb, where basically was a big light bulb with a kind of like a hollowed out dish where the smoke pellet would lay and just kind of cook, and you can see the little smoke stream coming out of the smokestack. If you notice the pilot or cow catcher, if you'd like, on these locomotives, the front of the locomotive, you'll notice that both the 226E and the 726 are fairly plain, where the 736, the later 726 and the 736 had the simulated simulated coupler and a kind of coupler bar on it. They never really had a coupler there, but they tried to make it look like a coupler in the 736. That's another difference between these locomotives, these particular two locomotives, and the later ones. Looking inside the cab of the 226E, it actually looks like the inside of a real locomotive cab. You see there's simulated gauges, and you have the throttle bar, the firebox doors. Kind of neat looking. Now look at the 726, and what you see is a motor. It's a motor plate. The end of you notice on the motor, it's called the Lionel atomic motor. Again, this was only 1 year. And another thing that's a difference in both of these locomotives is the E unit did not have on the 726 did not have a lever on the top, where the 226E did, and just about every Lionel locomotive had a lever on the top or on the bottom. This one didn't. What you did, you had a little plug there that you would change the plug if you wanted to keep it in one direction, or if you wanted to keep the E unit active. One of the distinctive features of the 226E you don't see on any other locomotive is it actually had some of the piping was actually real piping. It wasn't cast in. You can see the piece here, and on the other side, I'll switch this around. You can see the piping running along here. Kind of neat. It's different than the all the other locomotives, which have cast-on detail. Okay, as I just mentioned, the absence of the E unit slot in the 726. You notice there's an E unit slot here on the 226E, and even over here on the 736, you got an E unit slot. Of course, the E unit reverses the locomotive, and with a lever there, you can turn the E unit on or off. If you want to keep it in one direction, you turn it off while it's in the direction that you wish to go, and if otherwise, you put the E unit on, and then it'll switch direction when you turn the power on and off, or you hit the little direction button on a transformer. A couple more things that are different. I just want to talk briefly. You'll notice that the on the railings here on both the 726 and the 226E, you actually have little stanchions that are actually little, I don't know if they're cast or machined, but they're little stanchions. Later versions of the 726 and the 736, they just use cotter pins to hold this railing in place. You also notice on between the 226C and the 726, there's a difference in the where the smokestack is placed. You'll notice there's actually a separate little stack on the 226E. Those are the basic differences. Now, there are some internal differences in the motors, which I'm not going to get into at this time without taking the things apart. But I will say that both the 726 and the 226E are both very good runners. Even though they don't have magnet traction, they can pull quite a bit. And the 736 also is a very good runner. These are great locomotives, very desirable locomotives. And I'm happy to have them in my collection. Thank you. That's the end of this video. Thanks for watching.